Clear 101.7. We're sitting in with Shawn Mullins. How you doing today, Shawn?
I'm good, guys. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming in and spending some time with us. You got your cohort, Clay. Clay, how you doing?
I'm fabulous.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon and making the effort to come out for our show tonight at the Athletic Club of Bend. We're excited for it.
Thank you for having us.
We've got
a pleasure.
Hordes of people just eagerly anticipating the show tonight, so it's going to be a beautiful evening for it. You guys are enjoying the benefits of a real solid album. Ward Picking Parlor came out on Valentine's Day.
Right.
And #1 song with Beautiful Wreck.
That's right. Thank you for that, by the way. You guys helped out a lot with that. And, it's been cool. You know, I had a few years of somewhat of a, I guess some people would say it was a stagnant kind of couple of years for me, but I didn't really feel that way because I was so busy.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, well, I haven't heard from you, man, in so long. It's like, sorry, man, I've been out there. I've been out there playing like 200 dates a year. I don't know where you were.
I know where you weren't.
Yeah, you weren't at my little show.
Yeah.
But no, but it's a pleasure to do it, and to be able to do it for a living, you have to kind of look at it that way, and which I always have, and I know Clay's a lot like that too. We just love playing music, and
that comes through. I mean, when you, especially with this new album, it's stripped down, it's acoustic, and to me, that's where Shawn Mullins shines. I mean, that's and the lyrics, and you had a lot of help on this album. I was looking over the credits.
It's a big community of people and engineers, and it was cool. And it was 2 locations, one in Atlanta, where we live, and the other was in New Orleans in the 9th Ward, where I got the name for the record. It was the name of the studio. The 9th Ward Picking Parlor was my friend's studio, which was in his house. So, and of course that studio got completely devastated. Really, it wasn't washed away in the physical sense, but it was flooded and messed up so bad that you wouldn't want to go back in there. That whole area is pretty bad still.
So you had the recording done before the hurricane hit.
4.5 months before Hurricane Katrina, we were there. And so it was after the fact that I named the record that, of course. It was after the hurricane.
Nice tribute to the...
Yeah, that was the reason I did it. I couldn't think of a name for a record, and I was like, I'm going to name it after Mike's studio. That's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. And they've since relocated the studio, correct?
Yeah, they're in Kansas.
Up and running again now.
They're in Lawrence, Kansas, which is a good little music town, too, actually, so...
Are you? I'm seeing that your video "Beautiful Wreck" is popping up on CMT. So now you're crossing over, reaching a whole new audience.
Trying. I tell you what, these days it's tough. But yeah, it's always been a weird thing for someone to cross from folk music into country music. It doesn't happen a lot. It usually happens the other way, where a country artist can go into rock or go into whatever. But I guess these days anything goes, and if something works, it works. So I feel lucky to have a song like "Beautiful Wreck" that did that. It's
well,
nice.
And there's a few songs on here that have that high lonesome to them. That there's some bluegrass influence there and stuff too. So I can see the connection real easily.
Definitely,
we're very lucky. You're in the studio with your guitars, and we're set up. We're gonna get a couple tunes from you, and we'd love for you to get into that if you'd like.
This is originally a Thorns song, and I ended up putting it on my record because it didn't make the cut for the Thorns record, and I always thought it was one of our best songs. Matthew Sweet and Pete Droge and I. And Pete brought this song to the table, and I really loved it. And Matthew wasn't feeling all that good and kind of took a nap in the other room. And so Pete and I were working on this song for a few hours, and we got everything done but one verse. And I was like, well, I guess we got to get him to write a verse, It was kind of weird,
Go in and wake him up.
Yeah, we had to wake the guy up, right? And so Pete went in there and woke Matthew up and was like, hey, dude, put in on this. And literally he rolled over and gave us the third verse of this song. So when that comes up, you'll have to just kind of imagine Matthew Sweet and his own little, kind of stoner nap, waking up from like a little nap, kind of saying, interstellar rainbow on its cosmic wheel, rolling where the wind blows and never standing still. It's called Blue As You. New like smoky morning, cool like heaven glow. Meet me on the mountain, got no place to go. I like my daylight to be silver. I like my night skies to be blue. Blue as you. Underwater daydream, bone-dry desert sand. Half them words you're singing, boy, I don't understand. I like my daylight to be silver. I like my night skies to be blue. Blue as you. Days are wild away. Guess that you could say I'm just unwinding. What you're looking for, babe, I know it isn't what you're finding. Blue is you. Interstellar rainbow on its cosmic wheel, rolling where the wind blows, never standing still. I like my daylight to be silver, baby. I like my night skies to be blue. Blue as you. Blue as you.
Good to the last note.
Yeah, very nice.
Shawn Mullins, Clay Cook in the studio with us here on Clear 101.7. They brought guitars, and we're going to milk it for all we can.
And not only that, but we brought an 80-year-old mandolin with us, too.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Clay has an old, beautiful mandolin, so we should put that to use.
I think we
Absolutely.
should. So who are some of your musical heroes, Shawn?
My, we were talking about this earlier, that Chris Christopherson is my biggest songwriting hero, and he's also kind of just a hero in general. He's like it's like a gunfighter or something. And a guy like that's still kind of around.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and just doing his thing and standing up for what he believes in and writing that way and writing brutally honestly and also just kind of gutsy. He's always kind of been that way, and I've always admired it and loved the way he can turn a line. And so he's been probably my biggest influence, but a lot of those types of writers, a lot of the Texas writers, really, it's kind of a Texas thing for me, I think, even though Bob Dylan and Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and James Taylor, and the list goes on from people outside of Texas, but for some reason, Christopherson and James McMurtry and Townes Van Zandt, Guy Clark, those four in particular are kind of like really keep coming up for me as the greatest songwriters. I don't know why, but that's just the way I am with it. So
I Googled, tried to get a preview of what your set list would consist of, and I saw We Can't Make It Here, the James McMurtry song. You doing that tonight?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well,
boy, he nails. I mean, he speaks volumes on that particular track.
Yes.
And we kind of threw it out on the station because Doug and I fell in love with it.
Good for you.
I get calls on. I do a request show, and I get calls on that every week, 4 or 5 times. people going, I want to hear that song. What was the name of that song?
We'll definitely do it then. And McMurtry's he's an important writer, I mean, to have a song like that, but he's always, and he's really, he nailed it with that, but he's been doing that for years, telling the truth and just talking, make you just smile with the amount of, he's a real cynic and everything, and he's sarcastic, but there's a lot of fun in what he's saying. It's sardonic in a way because he's talking about heavy stuff, and not in that song in particular, but in other songs, he'll really get funny. Like that old song Candyland, talking about the squirrels running down the telephone wire and kids around the poolside screaming like cats on fire.
And you can picture it. It's
totally. And then the ice cream man with... and doing that whole thing. So.
That's the one thing I like about your music. I mean, you paint a picture, and it started with Soul's Core because that was my first introduction to you, even though you had several releases before. But when you're singing, I'm there. I'm on that train.
That's cool, thanks.
And that's a comment that I hear a lot from diehard Shawn Mullins fans.
Man, that's nice to hear. Well, it definitely comes from those guys I was mentioning before and other real visual songwriters like Joni Mitchell and I mean, it goes on and on. Dolly Parton's one of my favorites. And you know who else? We were talking about her yesterday in the Tom Petty version of her song is Lucinda Williams.
Oh, yeah.
And her imagery and, a song like Car Wheels on a Gravel Road and how that one line about the little kid in the back seat and a little bit of dirt mixed with tears. I mean, I've seen that so many times in the country and down south. And, it's just amazing to be able to capture that kind of lyrics. So she's another one that you got to hand it to. She really hits that mark.
Well, and Doug mentioned your albums before Soul's Core, and you were really a pioneer of what's happening in the music industry now with independent people doing their own thing with the internet and MySpace and all these opportunities to get your music out there. When you did that in the early 90s and late 80s, that wasn't happening. It wasn't that easy to be independent and push your own things and have a label come to you late in the dance. Mm-hmm. And so congratulations on being a pioneer of something that everyone else is now going to.
Man, that's nice of you to say. I definitely looked at, people before me for that, like Ani DeFranco, who had really been out a few years before I even got started. And she had definitely kind of done that, obviously. And Jello Biafra and others from the punk movement. But Atlanta is such a town of it's a very black city, and it's a very hip hop driven city in the way of music. And there's a lot of that there too. I mean, there's like a tremendous amount of independent hip hop artists that are really doing well and have been doing well for a long time. So that was also influential for me to watch that and go, wow.
I think the rest of the industry took some of that as well.
Sure.
Saw that the hip hop community were supporting themselves without radio airplay because for years nobody would touch it.
Oh yeah, everyone now's got a street team or whatever. And
it's exactly.
So.
Well, I understand we're going to get your big hit song off the new album, Beautiful Wreck.
Sure, absolutely. I've lost count of the times I've given up on you. But you make such a beautiful wreck, you do. There's a tavern on the corner called the Milky Way, and you look so at home there, it makes me afraid. And at the dark end of this bar, what a beautiful wreck you are. When you go too far, beautiful wreck you are, yeah. Now all the plans that you had from 7 years ago, like all the promises you made, I watched them come and go, yeah. You put your keys in the car, but it wouldn't drive. With your hands on that wheel, looking barely alive. Yeah. I'm still sitting here waiting on the path
passenger side. For you to make up your mind. For you to make up your mind. At the dark end of this bar, what a beautiful wreck you are.